So this is where I'm assuming Gabriel and Violet are heading to the refrigerated vans for more flowers. Or for some reason. How did you imagine that disappearing scene happening?
So I think that it would potentially seem creepy if he said, yes, come out to my van and help me.
There's candy. Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pleasure of the Text podcast, a shared imagined space where readers and writers make meaning together. We're your hosts, Shannon, Gareth.
Good morning, Shannon. Goodness, it's...
I said good afternoon.
Did you say good afternoon? I don't know what time it is. We're in different time zones. I know they're only an hour out, but I'm really confused by it. It's probably morning somewhere. So good morning, folks, and good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
And evening's probably the most appropriate because, of course, we're writing a romance today.
Yes. And for us, yesterday, it was Valentine's Day. And I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, Gareth. And I was confused twice because I saw a gentleman walking away from the shop with a bunch of roses. And I was like, oh, what a lovely gentleman. Maybe he's had a fight and he's like trying to, get back into the good books. And then I saw it again and I was like, what? Something is going on. Where are all these roses coming from? And then a big light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh, it's Valentine's Day. So that was the morning.
Yeah, then, I was confused too. Like, because I don't know what time of day it is. I also don't know what day it is. So I only realized it was Valentine's Day at about 10 p.m. last night.
Oh, no. Did you rush and get one of those $25 roses from the fuel stations?
I didn't. I did what all men do when they reach a certain period of married life, which is I just begged. I begged for forgiveness and admitted that I was a hopeless fool, and that worked fine. Yeah.
Because I was doing some shorts from our romance episode that we did, and you were talking about being the ideal man. I feel like, do you think you're hitting that label yesterday?
No, I think I'm more like the idea of a man that hasn't been well thought out.
Like Plato's shadows.
Yeah, on the wall, just on the cavern wall. And speaking of cavernous spaces, last night I went bowling as part of my work, go bowling, which is always great fun. But there was Valentine's Day bowling. It was very obvious, young couples coming in bowling romantically on Valentine's Day, and they were all getting into arguments. And I was wondering if there is a tradition of giving flowers to say sorry on February the 15th, once the dust has cleared.
Ah, like all the secondhand roses that haven't been sold. So kind of like your basketball team's the last to get chosen has been given out on the 15th of February.
Exactly. In fact, now that I think about it, I really do need to go and get some flowers today, but we'll worry about that later.
Yes, we will worry about that later.
So we had romance writing, and this time, that was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're having writing romance.
Yes, we are writing romance. So this is going to be one of our creative writing segments. And this one is really special because besides, the special day and, all that jazz. Romance Writers of Australia are running a competition, and we're going to be entering that competition. And in the spirit of Roland Barthes, we're going to be working on that together. Then we're going to be putting it on our website and on our Facebook group, and we're going to collaborate on this scene together. Now, it is going to be 1,500 words of the first kiss between two protagonists. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So we're going to, do writing for 6 minutes, come back, do some editing, and do some more writing for 6 minutes until we have that scene. Then we're going to enter it into this competition.
Wow. Now, let me clarify something. We're not going to have this. We're not going to have the 6 minute gaps for people to write with us, because am I correct in thinking that we are going to give people the opportunity to look at what we've done and make some much needed revisions and collaborate with us? Is that what we're doing?
So this is how I imagine today going. You're going to write either the male or the female perspective. So kind of fragments. Once again, the spirit of Roland Barthes. Go listen to last week's episode. It was amazing. And I'm going to write the male/female perspective. So we've been talking about this a bit, haven't we? So we've got our scene. So the idea was Bells and Beau. Similar setup to The Bachelor, but Southern American with that Southern drawl. And he's got to pick a bell flower to gift to these women that he's going to choose to kiss or choose the next episode of the day show. And our first kiss, we're imagining, is between the guy who brings in the flowers, so the bellflowers, the tulips, and potentially a TV director, apprentice / producer.
Possibly an intern, because they're just so far down the chain. And that would be quite good, I think. Directors are always really uptight, and assistant directors are even more uptight. And producers are just, drunk. And I know this because I used to work as a producer, and God knows I was always looking for the bar when the shoot was on because it was really stressful. So yeah, maybe an intern, and we got Beau, and remember because we did talk about this, because it would be insane to write in real time, which we're doing, and also have no plan. So we have a bit of a plan. Yeah. The plan is it's a show. Who knows what show it's like? I don't know. I wouldn't say that we're necessarily copying any show, but it's a dating show, and there's a guy called Beau, and every season the guy they pick has to be called Beau. And so I think we were joking about... You actually
had a great idea for that, because you said this guy's name is actually Beau, but he spells his name B-O-O, and then all the girls are like, isn't that Boo?
Yeah, and it's like, Beau, man. So it's like that, and I don't know if that'll make the writing, but I liked that idea. And so all the women are the bells, so it's Beaus and Bells, and the bells are known by their numbers, which I think is wonderfully reductive and horrendous. So when he refers to them, he's like, hey, 14. So if that isn't romantic, well, I don't know what is. So it's a really garish, horrendous show with people being very demonstrably, quote unquote, romantic. And then we have this little pairing to the side that's actually romantic. And that's our basic premise. Beyond that, we've got nothing.
Yeah, I think we wanted to compare kind of that commercialized idea of romance, what romance is actually, what we think of romance. Those, I can't even go into details, but actual romance in a romance comedy setting.
Yeah, the real deal, the real thing, those special moments that people tell their grandkids, sort of stuff. And so how I imagined today was going to go is we're going to write for 6 minutes, come back, mush it together, go write for another 6 minutes, mush it together again, and have enough, about maybe 500 words to put onto the website, and then get other people's inputs, because obviously we can't get people calling in. Oh, do we want? No, we don't want to do that. Hello, caller. Yeah. That sounds great. Okay, so we probably need like slightly more direction, though, in terms of like a slightly stronger constraint. Like, for example, we could spend 6 minutes writing about the mechanics of the kiss, like, how it happens, or we could do a bit, highlighting how horrendous Beau is, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so scene 1, we're going to talk about how horrendous Boo is with the other bells. And it's from the perspective of the intern or the flower preparer looking on at what's unfolding. So scene 1, I'm going to write that down. And then scene 2, I imagine the gifting of the flower ceremony is happening. The intern and the flower bringer are kind of in the corner talking about this, and then he's like leaning in, and that's when we're starting to get that kind of intimacy happening between those characters. So that would be scene 2. Should we have another scene? Yeah.
I
and
had
then
a name
scene
jump
3
into my
is
head,
the
which was
kiss.
Violet. What do we think about Violet?
For the intern's name?
You know, the intern Violet. You know, Violet. She's just making coffee. It just feels right to me. And of course, it's a flower. But yeah, I don't know. Because I was thinking we probably do need names for these characters before we get too far down the line. And I was thinking Violet, but you know, I'm open to other things.
What should the
Daisy?
flower preparer's name be?
Oh, it should be something really interesting, shouldn't it? Like
Gabrielle,
Fabio. You know, it could be anything. It could be like something like Stefan, you know, and he's like, yeah, no, you say it softly, Stefan, it's not Stephen, or something like that. Because I imagine him being a very retiring sort of person with his flowers. And I mean, what would you get into, like, Shannon? Like, what name would strike the right note for you?
Like an exotic name?
What about Matthew, but like exotic Mathieu sort of thing?
Matthias? Actually, yeah, I do like Matthias.
Matthias is good. I was actually going for Mathieu, as in Mattiieu. Mathieu.
Nah, I don't want someone who has a difficult name to spell.
Okay, that's
Gabrielle.
Fair. I like Gabriel, actually. I think that's a really soft name and weirdly floral in some way.
Yeah, Gabriel and Violet. Okay, I'm going to repeat again. So scene 1 is going to be, and please join in everyone because we're going to make a beautiful mess of this before we submit it. So scene 1, either from the perspective of the intern, Violet, or the flower bearer, Gabriel.
Oh, no, hang on. Let me jump in.
Okay.
I'm remembering back to what we talked about with romance. Romance is predominantly written for women. Therefore, should it not be all from Violet's point of view?
Yeah, true.
Because
I was just thinking like fragments, just the different perspectives.
Yeah, I think though we could do it in third person, but limit it to what Violet can see, because then we can describe all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So, okay, I agree. So Violet, scene 1, Violet looking at the gifting of the bell flowers to the bells by Beau and just thinking how awful Beau is and the commercialization of romance. Then scene 2, Gabriel and Violet are hiding behind, I don't know, a big vase of flowers, kind of talking and giggling. Then scene 3 is the kiss. So we're going to do this in 3 parts, each 6 minutes. We're not going to have the 6-minute pause like we do last time. So when I count us in, pause us, and then do your own timer. And come back in and start listening to us again.
Oh, this is exciting. All right.
Okay, I'm going to get my phone ready. I'm going to start the timer. I'm really excited.
I'm terrified. Let's see what happens.
Timer, I'm putting on a 6-minute timer. Okay, our time starts now. Okay, the timer has just gone off. And how did you go, Gareth?
Well, I think that I'm not sure I entirely followed the set mission. I thought jumped into my head, and I thought I'll write it down because maybe it's good, and it will add some words to our word count. So I was thinking about Beau. Should I read you this, and we'll see what you think?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Surprisingly, Beau seemed nervous, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, clenching and unclenching his fists. Regarding himself in the mirrored backdrop, he seemed to be staring deep into himself. Under his shirt, cut to be tight in all the right places, his biceps flexed and released. Then, as if sensing her thoughts, he spun on his heel, turning directly to face her. Violet shyly looked away. Moments passed as his steely gaze, hot as studio lights, took her in. Finally, she dared a glance, sideways at most, and found him likewise staring over his shoulder at the mirror, admiring the snap of his glutes as he continued to half-march on the spot.
Wow, that's amazing.
I think I can capture Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that's how you do it, actually. I don't know how you pump your muscles up specifically. Mine are always pumped. But I assume it's clenching and unclenching your fist would get stuff going and kind of that stuff. So, yes, a little bit of Bo.
Yeah.
What did you get?
I reckon, I don't know if we can actually use that and then shift it into my scene, because this is where Bo starts to talk.
Oh, great.
And you get a bit of, yeah. Can you be a dear and wipe this gunk off my hands? Ha, I know what you're thinking. I'm not a bore. I can contain myself for the time being. Violet shuddered with disgust. She really wished he wouldn't ever talk and stayed a mute statue, the ones you see pissing out the front of commercial buildings or old Italian family homes. The only good use for a man like Bo. Pulling a wad of wet wipes from the back pocket of her jeans, she clasped Bo's hands and wiped the white sticky fluid from his palms. The bellflowers were already starting to wilt from the heat and crush of his huge hands and his inability to be soft with anything delicate. She might have to get Gabrielle to bring in more flowers for the scene. She saw the director give her the eye. There wouldn't be enough time for a new batch. Wiping his other hand, she gave him the flowers back and pushed him in front of the camera, ready to roll for the flower scene.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I guess we could mix them. I think maybe the only thing we'd need to do is have a sort of a love-hate thing. So she finds him an oaf, but part of her wants him not to be. So like in my scene, she's like, wait, maybe he's a bit deeper than I think he is. And then he's not. And then in your scene, he's clearly not deep at all.
No, but I mean, aren't Violet and Gabrielle getting together? Not.
Well, I like the idea that because she's an intern, she's not been there that long, and this is the first time she meets him, or it's one of the first times. You know, maybe she'd seen him around, but they hadn't spoken. And then I do like the idea, the line, the hands not being able to handle anything delicate. I think that's a beautiful line. And so I reckon, yeah, maybe there needs to be more flowers. And so that means they have an interaction. And perhaps, I mean, he wouldn't keep the flowers on him. Maybe they'd be in his van, maybe as like a refrigerated van that is kept running. So they have to walk out of the studio lot over to the van to get more.
As in Gabrielle and Violet?
Yeah, and so it gives them a reason because, obviously the fun of Bo and the Bells will start to wear away relatively quickly. So we sort of kind of have some, and I do love the idea that the Bo refers to all the bells by their number because there's lots of terrible things he could say, like sweet 16, although of course you are of age, like that sort of thing. There's kinds of terrible attempts at humor, something like that. So yeah, I imagine they're setting up. I don't know what was in his hands.
The flowers.
Oh, so he just scrunched them and then...
Yeah, you know how flowers release that white milky stuff?
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. I don't really crush flowers. I'm not that sort of person, so...
Well, exactly.
Snort. So, yeah, I'm not familiar with that particularly, but yes, so that makes sense. And that's kind of great because this is... I've forgotten his name.
Gabrielle.
Oh, yeah, Gabriel's thing. He nurtures these flowers and then Bo just comes in and wrecks it. So that's a really good juxtaposition, I think. Yeah.
I think this would have to be mid-season of this Bells and Bo because Gabrielle and Violet would have interacted quite a bit before they've gone in for the kiss.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're right. That does make sense.
Violet would already know that Bo's a bit of a dud.
I still think she should be slightly infatuated with him. If I'm correct, this is the romantic trope that there are two viable men and Gabriel's just not what she's looking at because she's looking at Beau, and Beau keeps disappointing her. And she finds him, boorish and irritating, but he's very good looking. And he has these moments on camera when he's quite charming, like sometimes. And so, it's kind of like, well, maybe he could be like that all the time. Maybe all this other stuff is just bravado because, he thinks he has to live up to a role. I could see her doing that. And I think that would kind of bring Gabriel in a really interesting way because he's not her love interest, but then there's something that happens that makes a spark.
Okay. Well, we're going to put these two scenes together, and now we're going to move on to scene 2.
Okay.
So this is where I'm assuming Gabriel and Violet are heading to the refrigerated vans for more flowers. Or for some reason. How did you imagine that disappearing scene happening?
So I think that it would potentially seem creepy if he said, yes, come out to my van and help me.
There's candy.
I got some beautiful flowers in my van. Just come on out. So I don't think he'll do that. I think the assistant director, now that's the one that will typically, like the floor manager. They're the one bossing everyone around, making sure everyone's doing their thing. So the director can just focus on getting the performances because, it's all basically scripted. So I think the floor manager will be maybe her nemesis in a sense because she's just so tough on her. Not like a romantic rival, just this very gruff person. I think it would be quite fun to base her physically on Barbara Cartland and maybe, kind of do a bit of I feel like there should be a chaise lounge somewhere for her to cast herself on when she gets really frustrated. I think that would be a lot of fun.
The floor manager?
Yeah. She's like this old, wizened TV producer-y sort of person. She's been around forever. She's seen it all. And she's able to tie into love because it's a series of tropes and she knows the tropes and she can be momentarily disarming because she'll be like, and then it'll be like this and you're like, wow, that's really romantic. And then she's like, you got it. And, and that kind of thing. I think that would be really funny. So she, I reckon, will tell Violet, go and, follow him. He takes too long mincing around, just bring the goddamn flowers back. So she's ordered to go with him. And so it's, that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the part where she's following Gabriel to the van to get these flowers stat. Okay.
Stat. In fact, I might go from opening the van.
Oh, okay, good call.
Yeah.
And go. And we're back.
How'd you go?
That one was a little bit harder than the first one. I've got a really clear image of Beau in my head. I mean, I've met plenty of those guys before, but I don't have such a clear vision of Gabriel.
It's not easy, is it? I think it's a bit like a first date almost. You start off great because you're prepped, and then life starts happening. And then you do crazy things like order spaghetti bolognese for dinner. And then you think, how am I going to manage this without it going everywhere? Why did I do this? I ordered a sweet and sour crab on a date, which seemed like a really safe option, but it was a crab claw on a bed of pasta smothered in sweet and sour sauce. It was a crime against me. I felt like they deliberately did this to me. So I had a cracker and it was just sweet and sour sauce was flying everywhere. I couldn't get any meat out because it was a big claw. That was great, but I couldn't crack it because it was slimy with sweet and sour sauce.
Couldn't crack it.
And no, I couldn't crack anything that night. I was just cracking up. And bits of shell were landing on the table. I didn't eat anything. I couldn't pick up the pasta. I mean, who puts sweet and sour sauce on pasta? The pasta was sliding off my fork. A little bit of crab meat hit her in the face just under the eye, and she was like really graceful about it, but it was a nightmare. And then she was like, no, realizing I wasn't eating because I couldn't, and I was just basically breaking my food up and going, nah. And then that made her feel awkward. It was just a nightmare. You know, pick up the wine and you leave like sticky fingerprints all over it. That was a one and done date.
What is a good date food? Because I know burgers aren't.
No, you've got to have something really like maybe sushi or soup. Something that can't go everywhere.
Soup.
Finger food. Finger food is the way to get. Maybe crackers, just some dry crackers.
Yeah, but if you've got like shit, or not shit, but like the residue of food on your fingertips, you can't like, I don't know, hold hands.
Well, crackers, you know, they're absorbent. I think we should make...
just plain rice crackers.
Yeah, the pleasure of the text. Love crackers. And we'll sell it.
We'll sell it. Date food.
Yeah, you know, we'll say like and subscribe, and you know, our thanks to the Love Crackers brand, the pleasure of the text Love Crackers. We eat them all the time.
Shaped in a triangle for all your love triangle needs.
Right. So everyone can bite a corner for the polyamorous, and then. You know, and then we'll just eat a few while we're doing the podcast and try and wash them down with water and not choke.
Yeah, but these are definitely non-choky ones because you don't want to, unless you do want to.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Would you like to read first?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent.
Okay. She'd seen his van before, but never this close. It was typical white, and someone had painted flowers in all the hues of a prism on the door which Gabrielle opened. And then the inside was the same, the cool flush of condensation parting to show drawers of flowers and stands of flowers, every space within containing flowers. Gabriel hummed under his breath. Violet shuffled from foot to foot, that wilting look of the floor manager's face somehow matching the wilted flowers in Beau's hands was burned behind her eyes. Can you hurry along? We have a tight schedule. To her chagrin, her comment only slowed his momentum until he paused and pulled out a single flower. He smiled and brought the small violet up to her face, allowing one of the street lights to highlight the various hues of purple. I brought this one in today for you. It's a southern wisteria violet, quite rare and takes time to blossom with the right care. The pad of his finger grazed on the petals, and it was as if the violet's little face turned towards his radiant smile.
Wow, you know what you're doing.
Oh, do I? Okay,
yeah,
I thought I'd epically failed this one.
No, I think that was pretty good.
Okay.
I think you've completely obliterated what I wrote, but maybe we can pull out a couple of words. Okay, so this is what I wrote. I described the van too. Different description. The van wasn't running, but it had been parked in the shade between studios 1 and 2, an alleyway so tight and deep the sun only reached it in the middle of the day. It was a plain van, olive green, with only a black and white decal in the back window indicating its use. This itself was almost illegible through the slightly frosted glass. Sorry, Gabriel offered again, though Violet couldn't imagine his specific regret. He pulled the back doors open. A breath of cool, scented air surrounded them. He reached inside. So you're kind of an expert, she ventured. On flowers, I mean. An enthusiast. His voice was even softer within the confines of the van.
Oh, yeah. I like the final 3 sentences.
Well,
that's good because then they can have a conversation about flowers.
Conversation about flowers, yeah. So, should we write the kiss?
Yeah, so we're going to write the kiss.
Let's do that. I don't know where it's going to go in, but I feel like the mechanics of the kiss are incredibly important. So, should we just let's get the kiss over with.
Oh, that is not the mentality you have for the first kiss, Gareth. What are you doing?
Just get it over with. My God, what if my teeth hit hers? I don't know. It's awful.
Okay. Okay, well, let's just dive right in.
The kiss,
Tongue
folks.
first and all. Okay, I'm going to get the timer on. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Start the kiss scene. And we're back.
We're back.
Oh, that was hard.
Yeah.
So much respect for people who write romance and first kiss scenes.
Oh, my God. I know, right? Because you think, what do I find romantic? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm glad you're actually reading this one first and not me.
Yeah, look, it's probably going to seem weird, but I gave it my best. So it's a hybrid, he said, the softness in his voice cool and calming like the air in the van. The petals caressed Violet's lips as she brought the flower to her face. It had a slight fragrance, gentle but shifting, complex. She handed it back to Gabriel, and he, in turn, leaned in and seemed almost to kiss it tenderly. From her lips to his, the thought melted inside her. It's amazing, isn't it? He handed her back the flower. Keep it if you like. She breathed it in again, from his lips to hers.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like
I
a
do
symbolic
like it.
kiss.
I think we should use it.
I'm relieved. What have you got?
Oh, man. Okay. I just want to remind the audience we're writing this completely off the cuff. Okay, so I've taken your end of the scene and tried to continue. An enthusiast. In the space of the van, his voice was quiet, soft. She leaned in closer to hear his words, and his earthy scent mixed with the blossom of flowers. He brought the violet up higher under her nose. Smell, he said. There is a reason why this is a rare and sought-out flower. Violet obliged, and with the closing of her eyes and the inhalation of a new breath, she forgot about the rolling cameras, the bells and bow, her floor manager, even having to feed a cat when she got home later that night. The violet scent was indescribable. Butter smothered on warm bread, simmering mulled wine with hints of clove, tucked blossom under bee wings. Gabriel kept moving the flower to help the scent waft under her nose, and one of the petals touched her lower lip, and then her top, and then her bottom lip again, by accident, and then the velvety petal stroked her right cheek, and she had to open her eyes, looking into his deep green eyes, flecked with their own molten yellow pollen in their depths. Sorry. Again that word, but what was he sorry for? He uncertainly leaned forward, and with the momentum, she watched the determination waver and then solidify. His lips brushed hers, and they were as soft, no softer than the violets, but more heady.
Wow. Okay, so you are the expert. This is clear.
Oh, no.
I'm the bow in this story. I have no delicacy. I can't touch these tender things without just breaking them into bits. Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I mean, I don't know, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think, listeners? I thought that was pretty amazing. I think you're onto something, Shannon.
Okay, this is good. Oh, man.
Okay.
But I don't know if that sounded too, forward. I mean, I'm assuming they've talked before this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting we both came up with the idea of the flower, in a sense, kissing her. I think you did it better. I think you did it better than I did.
I think we should mix have the metaphorical kiss and then the lean into the kiss.
I don't know. I really liked the bottom lip, top lip, bottom lip. I thought that was very good. I think that there'll be more scope for me to bring my talents to bear with the crotchety floor manager and possibly some of the vapid bells. I think I'm very comfortable with that stuff. But yeah, I think we're off to a pretty amazing start, and I think you knocked it out of the park. I think I stunk up the joint. But I think this really highlights because we have the same essential framework for the scene, how you really do have to have a sensibility for this kind of text. Sorry, that was.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you've read a bit more romance fiction than I have, and I think you also have perhaps a slightly more refined insight into the attraction of men, which I may be lacking, alas, in my simple way. Because I sort of, my thing with Gabriel is that he's quiet and earnest, and I'm pretty sure that there are definitely some women who find that a good thing.
100%.
His earthiness and the really, the genre has this kind of forcing the moment aspect to it, which he does. So I don't think it was too much. I think it's like you don't know any of this is coming, and then it just happens. And then they go back in as if nothing had happened, and there's your set up for a much longer piece of work. So he's like really surprised her, but in a good way. And in a way that if it happened in the real world, I feel like all this stuff would go down and things would be terrible and complaints would be made and Gabriel would be on like a register of some sort. But in this world, the romance world, it felt tonally right to me, I think. I really liked it. I think, I assume what we're going to do is we're not going to write the whole thing today. We've got 3 scenes, and that gives us something to work with. And then the idea is to invite our listeners to start pick anything that they think would work in this scenario and write it in, and we'll stick your name on it with ours, and it'll be a big collaborative work.
Yeah, so I'm going to create a Google Doc and I'm going to post it on our website and Facebook, and it's public, people can edit it, and we'll see how it goes towards the end. But we'll kind of mush our sections together before I post it so it's a bit more cohesive, but I'll keep it split in scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3.
Okay, that sounds good. But I think also people can add more scenes, because I think what our framework here is they're going to shoot the tulip handing out scene in the studio.
Tulip ceremony.
Yeah. In studio 2, we'll say. And Beau's messed it up, and Violet is trying to navigate her feelings for him, which are mixed, and her relationship with the floor manager, who is her nemesis, but maybe it's tough love. Maybe she's got a heart of gold. I don't know. Or maybe she doesn't. And then they go out to the van, and she's never really considered Gabriel, but in the way she's paying attention to him in the text, you get a sense that she's somewhat interested in him, perhaps in spite of herself. He does this rather amazing thing. They have their kiss, and then they just walk back in with the flowers, and she's full of thoughts and he's quiet again. And that, I think, would be our scene. That's our 1,500 words. Does that sound?
Yeah, that does.
I think that's good framework. I feel like that seems very intriguing. Yeah. All right.
I agree.
All right. Well, I think you're the wordsmith, and I will be throwing in ideas and grotesque characterizations for supporting characters, and a lot of butt pumping. That's not the thing to say. A lot of glute snapping. Glute snapping?
Glute snapping.
Yeah, something
Bend
like
snapping.
That. That's probably a thing too. You got to really keep up these days with the terms, because they keep shifting.
They do.
We'll build this up. How long have we got to get this out into the world?
It is due on the 27th of February 2023 at 5 p.m. AEST. Also, if you guys want to write your own, go out and do it. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And how awesome would it be if we kind of all collaborated and we stood up in Sydney, their conference, and accepted this award?
All expenses paid, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be really
Get
annoyed. There'll be like
salad.
27 people. They'll be like, God damn it. Yeah, no, that sounds wonderful. All right. Well, I think we're off to a start. And of course, next week, in amongst working on this, we are moving further afield into writing a sex scene. I am concerned at this point, having bombed out on the romance scene, whether the sex scene is going to be a disaster, but it could be a fun disaster. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you were mentioning that you've got a book on erotica, so maybe read up on that to see.
A huge tome. I don't know who it's the complete history of eroticism.
Oh, you'll be an old hat at this then.
I'll just pull it out.
It's,
12th
that century books.
Thick.
Yeah, do it.
And yeah.
Do your bicep curls with it.
Right. Yeah, it's a big tome. Okay.
Okay, well, that was really fun. It's a wrap. And what do they say in the showbiz, Gareth? It's a wrap.
End
Do they actually
scene?
say that?
End scene, maybe.
End scene.
Cut.
We'll see you all next week on the Pleasure of the Text.
Bye.